In my previous life, just 1 month before I was officially engaged to Kyle, Celine, the girl who always hung out with us, stopped him in front of her house. She cried, told him she'd secretly loved him for years, and begged him to give her a chance. But Kale, my childhood friend, and the boy who had always been by my side, said no. We got married after that, but Celine never gave up. She clung to him like he was the moonlight she could never touch, until that soft glow turned into dust. The wounds of the past, impossible to wash away, burned into my heart like a scar I couldn't erase. Then one day, she proudly announced her victory, the child growing in her belly. And while I stood there, still trying to understand what had just happened, she pushed me down the stairs. In a daze, my body broken and bleeding, I looked up and saw Kale, running straight to her. He gently helped her up, checking her carefully, making sure the baby was okay. Not a glance in my direction, not even a whisper of my name. And then, everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in high school. Same desk, same summer uniform. The buzz of cicadas mixed with the sounds of students shouting outside the window. My head was spinning. I sat up slowly, staring blankly at my surroundings. The last thing I remembered was returning home from the law firm, the finalized divorce agreement in my bag. Celine had been standing at the door, heavily pregnant, victorious, like a peacock flaunting her feathers. She lifted her chin and said, "I'm pregnant. Kyle told me he's going to divorce you." I said nothing. I walked past her, reached for my keys, and opened the door. Maybe my cold silence didn't match the image she had of her victory. Maybe that's why she suddenly grabbed me, refusing to let go. We struggled. She pulled hard, and I was wearing heels. I lost my balance, slipped, and fell. My head hit the ground. Warm blood spilled across the floor. Pain surged through me like fire, then everything faded. The only thing left was the sound of hurried footsteps rushing toward me. Now a bottle of water was being placed on my desk. "I heard you fainted during PE. You only made it halfway. What happened?" I looked up. A familiar face, younger, concerned. It was Kale. Younger than I remembered. Just like he was in high school. My first love. My husband. The father of Celine's child. I stared at him, stunned, but all I could think about was the last time I saw him, rushing to Celine's side, crying with her, holding her hand, whispering, "Don't worry, the baby will be fine." "Mira." Kyle waved his hand in front of me. "Are you all right? Do you have a fever?" I almost laughed. Even after all that, after everything we'd been through, I could still dream of him caring for me. Was there still a part of me that longed for his comfort? How pathetic. I gave a cold, bitter smile. Kyle blinked, confused. And then, a familiar voice called from the doorway, overly sweet, dramatic. "Mira, are you okay?" Celine rushed in, face painted with concern. "I heard you nearly passed out. I was so scared." She spoke with worry, but her feet carried her closer to Kyle, her hand casually brushing the sleeve of his shirt, like it meant nothing. That's when it hit me. Why didn't I see it sooner? "What?" they both asked, startled by my muttering. How blind I had been. I had treated Celine like my closest friend, shared secrets with her, even ones about Kyle. I pulled her into our study group. Kyle and I both helped her improve from struggling to decent grades. Even after Kale and I started dating, she claimed she missed being around us, so I invited her along every time. She called herself our third wheel, the sidekick of our love story. I even introduced her to good men, honest, kind, reliable. But she always said they weren't the right fit. Why didn't I realize? She had loved Kale long before she ever became friends with me. The night before our engagement, she stood outside his house, soaked in rain, crying. She begged him to give her a chance, to let her compete fairly. She told me she didn't want to destroy our friendship, but then she also told me she loved him so much, she couldn't stop herself anymore. Back then, Kale didn't accept Celine's confession. He was firm about it, determined to marry me. And he did. We got engaged. We exchanged vows. We built a life together. But over the 5 years of our marriage, Celine never truly left. She became the silent shadow behind us, the third person in our relationship. And once she tore off the paper-thin mask of politeness, she didn't even bother hiding anymore. She showed up at Kyle's office, uninvited, waited outside just to bring him lunch, bought clothes for him, asked him how he was doing. She told him, "I'll prove to you, with actions, that I love you more than she ever could." Kyle was repulsed by her clinginess. He blocked her number, avoided her entirely. He returned everything she sent, or threw it away without a glance. 6 months later, Selene came to me, sobbing. She knelt down in front of me, begged for forgiveness, claimed she had been possessed, that she had no idea what she was doing, and promised she would never bother Kale again. She said she just wanted to be friends with us. Again, of course I couldn't do it. I didn't have it in me to be friends with the woman who once tried to tear apart my marriage. Kale said he felt the same. But real life isn't just made of black and white decisions. The dull rhythm of daily life, the fatigue of raising a child, the moments of silence between us, whenever small cracks began to form in our marriage, Celine was always there, like a virus slipping through the smallest gaps. She crept back into our lives without warning. Kyle started mentioning her more and more, at first in passing, then in comparison. "She used to cook this dish better," he'd say when a meal didn't suit his taste. "She was always more patient with me," he'd mutter when we argued. Little things, tiny fragments, but those fragments added up. What should have been small moments, the kind couples work through, grew into gaps we couldn't bridge, and every one of them was widened by Selena's existence. We started having more fights, long silences, nights apart, and in the end, I couldn't take it anymore. I asked for a divorce. Kyle cried. He begged. He said he still loved me. But I knew, even if he still had feelings for me, he would never be able to let go of Selene again. He had become addicted to her obedience, her soft voice, the way she molded herself to please him, in every way possible. So I went to the lawyer alone. I drafted the divorce papers. I planned my new life, a clean break, a new city, a fresh start. I thought I was ready, but before I could take that first step, Selene pushed me down the stairs, and I was forced to watch it all, the betrayal, the pain, the scene that would stay with me until the end. The school bell rang, snapping me back to the present. That entire afternoon, I sat at my desk, staring at the blackboard, watching familiar chalk lines and unfamiliar teachers. Slowly, I began to realize this wasn't a dream. I had been reborn. Maybe the heavens had seen how blind I had been in my past life, how I never truly understood the people around me. Maybe that's why I was given another chance. And this time, I was sent back to the second year of high school, to the exact moment when my so-called friendship with Celine had just begun. Celine was a transfer student. She hadn't passed the high school entrance exam for our school, so she had spent her first year at a third-tier public school. Her family pulled some strings, paid a hefty fee, to get her transferred here. Her grades weren't good. Whenever she failed a test, she would hide in the restroom and cry. High school was like a miniature version of society. The girls who couldn't keep up academically were easy targets. It didn't take long for the bullying to start. People began pulling pranks, locking the bathroom doors while she was inside, dumping water over her head, laughing and calling her names. Stupid Celine. The crybaby loser. I was the one who saved her. I chased those girls off, gave Selene clean clothes, stayed by her side. She cried and thanked me through her tears. I thought she was pitiful. I worried she'd be bullied again. So I took the first step. I offered her friendship. At the time, I was the student council president, respected by both teachers and students. My support changed everything. Others stopped teasing her. Some even began to treat her with kindness. Kyle also started looking out for her, because of me. When I was young, my kind-hearted parents always told me, if you give someone a rose, the scent will linger on your hands. I carried those words with me. From the very beginning, I had always tried to help others. After that, Selene often talked about how much she wanted to improve her grades, so I pulled her into the study group that Kyle and I had started. Together, we helped her study harder, enough to get into a well-ranked university in the city. But Kyle didn't do well in the college entrance exam, and in the name of love, I gave up my dream school and settled for a top-ranked university in the same city, just to stay by his side. By the time I reached my senior year, my university offered me an opportunity to study abroad for my postgraduate program, and once again, I stayed because of Kyle. Now that I think about it, I was such a fool for making those decisions. But luckily this time, everything has only just begun. It's not too late. The school bell rang, signaling the end of class. Kyle and Selene walked toward me together. Selene was all smiles. We're reviewing the test materials together today, right? I stood up and grabbed my school bag. I'm heading home. What? You're leaving already? Selene blinked in surprise. We still have evening self-study classes. Are you sure you're okay? You've looked off all day. Was it heat stroke? Kyle reached out his hand, concern on his face. Wait, are you running a fever? I tilted my head away, avoiding his hand. He froze, his arms suspended awkwardly in the air. I told the teacher I was feeling unwell, I said softly. Then let me walk you back, Kyle offered. Just a minute. I'll let the teacher know. There's no need. I shouldered my bag and turned, walking away without waiting for him. When I reached the bottom floor of our apartment complex, we ran into Kyle's mother. She had just come down to throw out the trash. As soon as she saw me, she smiled. Oh, Mira, you're home early today. Later, come over and have some cookies, all right? I just baked a fresh batch. They're still warm. I looked at the woman in front of me. There was a time I truly believed I had found the kindest mother-in-law in the world. But after I married Kyle, everything changed. Because I couldn't get pregnant, she began to look down on me. She constantly urged Kyle to try with someone else, whispered things like, maybe it's her problem. We can't let her drag you down, son. When I miscarried, she didn't even look at me. She looked straight past me, straight to the child in Selene's belly. Thanks, but I don't like cookies, I replied quietly, walking past her. She looked shocked. I didn't look back. I closed the door behind me. Inside, I looked at the bookshelf in my room, 2 full tiers of notes and textbooks, then turned to the mirror. This was me, 17 again. And maybe, if I had the chance to live this life a second time, I could change more than just love and marriage. Maybe I could go after the things I once buried deep in regret. Just then, my mother came home. Behind her was Kyle. I saw Kyle downstairs, she said. He told me you weren't feeling well and left school early. Why didn't you call me? Worried, she came over and touched my forehead. I'm fine, I smiled gently. Just a little warm. Don't worry. Kyle's mother followed, placing a pot on the table. I made some cooling tea for Mira. Let it sit a bit before drinking. And here, I brought cookies too. My mum smiled politely. You're too kind. You didn't have to go to the trouble again. Kyle grinned. If you're feeling better later, maybe we can do homework together tonight. In my previous life, during our 3rd year of high school, Kyle and I often studied together because we lived across the street from each other. But in this life, I had no intention of doing that again. I didn't want a relationship that went beyond being classmates. I didn't want to grow closer to his mother. I didn't want to repeat the same tragic ending. Kyle, I said gently, I've been feeling tired lately. I want to study on my own for a while. I'm going to withdraw from the evening study group. And just like that, I stepped away from the study group that included Kyle and Selene. In the evenings that followed, I studied alone, solving problems, doing my own research. Kyle tried to approach me a few times after school, like he used to, but I always found excuses, saying I needed to go to the restroom, or that I had to grab something with my classmates, I made sure he never got the chance. When Selene tried to ask me for help, I simply said I was busy and brushed her off. That weekend, Kyle blocked my path outside my apartment. His voice was sharp, his tone accusing. Selene and I were just trying to talk to you. What's with the cold shoulder? You're overthinking it, I said calmly. The semester's almost over. I just want to study by myself for a while. Overthinking? He repeated, his voice rising. Everyone in class has noticed you've been ignoring me. Do you think I'm blind or deaf? I was silent for a moment. Then I asked, Kale, do you have feelings for me? He froze. I don't like you like that, I continued. What I mean is, even though we grew up together, even though we've known each other for 17 years, I've never felt anything more than ordinary friendship between us. Right now, I just want to focus on studying alone. Kyle looked stunned, then scoffed, like he'd heard something ridiculous. Who said I liked you? He snapped. I only ever saw you as someone I grew up with. A friend. Good, I said quietly. Then don't overthink it either. His face twisted. I was just worried about you as a friend, but you turned it into something else. Fine. You want to study alone? Let's study alone. Separately. All right, I nodded. I watched his back as he walked away in anger. I'm sorry, Kyle. You're only 17 now. You haven't done anything wrong. You're not the two-timing, emotionally negligent man I came to resent in my past life. But I have the memories of everything that happened later. And because of those memories, I can't accept you anymore. If we already know how this ends, then why not stop it here? Stop it early, before either of us gets hurt. In this life, forgetting each other might be the best ending. Since that day, Kyle never tried to speak to me again. Selene noticed my silence too, and quickly went to Kyle, probably hoping he'd comfort her or side with her. But Kyle, clearly still angry, snapped at her. It's fine. We'll just start our own study group. We can still raise our grades without anyone else. It's not like she's indispensable. And he was right. No one in this world is truly indispensable. A few days later, Mr. Whitman, our homeroom teacher, suddenly called me into his office. Mira, he said, adjusting his glasses, I've noticed you haven't seemed very happy about helping your classmates lately. I frowned. What do you mean? I heard you left the evening study group. Is that true? I nodded. Yes, I just wanted to study on my own. He sighed. Mira, listen. You're still young, and it's important to know that while academic achievement is good, moral character is just as important. Being selfish is never the right path. I blinked. Sir, I just don't think the study group model works for me. I'm trying to study harder on my own. How is that selfish? Mr. Whitman shook his head, changed the subject. At first, I was planning to nominate you for this year's City Honors Student Award. You know the criteria, right? Strong academics, good conduct, and all-around character. I interrupted him. Mr. Whitman, last year the award was decided through open nominations and a class-wide vote. It was fair and transparent. I'd be happy if we did the same this year. And second, yes, I left the group with Kyle and Selene, but I've still been helping others. Students from other seats and rows come to ask me questions all the time, and I've helped every single one of them. I don't think I've done anything wrong, ethically or otherwise. If I was still 17, I might have been shaken by that kind of moral manipulation, might have believed I hadn't done enough, or that I was being selfish. But I'm not that girl anymore. I'm 27 now, in a 17-year-old body, and I've lived through too much to be affected by a few carefully chosen words from a teacher. Mr. Whitman clearly realized he couldn't argue with me, so he let me go back to class. But that afternoon during homeroom, he announced something unexpected. We're going to be adjusting the seating arrangement, he said. Our study group model has brought great results. Many students have improved significantly in last month's exams. At the end of class, Mr. Whitman stood at the front of the room. The semester is wrapping up, he announced. In the spirit of academic improvement and mutual support, We're going to implement a new one-on-one mentoring format. You'll be paired with your desk partner. And as you all know, this year's City Honours student selection will focus heavily on moral conduct. Helping others improve their grades will be an important part of the evaluation. Then he began calling out names and rearranging seats. And Celine was assigned to sit with me. She hugged her books to her chest, eyes full of forced sincerity. "Don't worry, Mira," she said. "To help you get the City Honours Student Award, I'll work extra hard on my grades." I almost laughed. Mr. Whitman stood proudly at the front, gesturing enthusiastically as he explained the new system. On his wrist was a sleek, imported wristwatch, something I hadn't noticed before. Celine's family owned a luxury watch business. Suddenly, it clicked. In my past life, the reason Mr. Whitman never stepped in was because I had volunteered to help Celine on my own. Under my guidance, her grades had shot up. She even broke into the top 100 in senior year. But her foundation was poor. Very poor. Other students wouldn't have had the time or patience to help someone like her. Even Cale back then mostly discussed questions with me. He rarely helped her. Now that I've pulled out of the study group, Celine has been trying her best to hide her emotions. But I could see the excitement in her eyes when she found out she'd be seated next to me. She must have thought this was a victory. But it wouldn't last long. She'd soon realize Kyle didn't have the patience to tutor her. And I, the girl who used to love helping others, suddenly had no interest in playing teacher. She must have been worried. After all, it was her family's money that got her transferred into this school. All it took was one expensive imported watch to win over Mr. Whitman. What they wanted was to use the City Honours Student Award as leverage, to guilt me into being her free personal tutor. What a well-thought-out plan. After class, I went straight to the teacher's office. "Mr. Whitman," I said, "I'd like to request a change in seating. I don't want to sit next to Celine." His face darkened instantly. "What is this, Mira?" he snapped. "Didn't you just say you enjoy helping your classmates? Why are you backing out now? You won't cooperate with the study program. You want to change your seat. Look around. Is anyone else in this class making such a fuss?" "Mr. Whitman," I replied calmly, "do you love everyone in the world?" He blinked, confused. "People naturally have those they like, and those they don't. I'm perfectly willing to help my desk mate, but not if that person is Celine. I don't like her, so I don't want to help her." "You can't pick and choose," he barked. "The seating arrangement was decided based on grades and the City Honours student selection criteria. If you change it, is that fair to others? Why are you only thinking about yourself?" I gave a small cold smile. "City Honours student, City Honours student." I repeated, then said, "All right, I'd like to withdraw from the nomination process." "What?" I said, "I'm officially withdrawing. You don't need to find me a new partner. I'll sit alone." He was furious, visibly shaking. "I'm doing this for your own good," he shouted. "If you don't fix your lack of empathy now, when you enter the real world, you'll suffer. I'm teaching you how to be a decent human being." "Thank you for your kindness, Mr. Whitman," I said coolly. "But I already know how to be one. And the first rule of being a decent human being is not forcing yourself to suffer just to make someone else comfortable." "You're just making excuses for your selfishness," he snapped again. "As the class president, aren't you supposed to lead by example, show team spirit? If Celine's grades improve, the class will be ranked as an outstanding group this year." At the end of class, Mr. Whitman stood at the front of the room. "The semester is wrapping up," he announced. "In the spirit of academic improvement and mutual support, we're going to implement a new one-on-one mentoring format. You'll be paired with your desk partner. And as you all know, this year's City Honours student selection will focus heavily on moral conduct. Helping others improve their grades will be an important part of the evaluation." Then he began calling out names and rearranging seats, and Celine was assigned to sit with me. She hugged her books to her chest, eyes full of forced sincerity. "Don't worry, Mira," she said. "To help you get the City Honours Student Award, I'll work extra hard on my grades." I almost laughed. Mr. Whitman stood proudly at the front, gesturing enthusiastically as he explained the new system. On his wrist was a sleek, imported wristwatch, something I hadn't noticed before. Celine's family owned a luxury watch business. Suddenly it clicked. In my past life, the reason Mr. Whitman never stepped in was because I had volunteered to help Celine on my own. Under my guidance, her grades had shot up. She even broke into the top 100 in senior year. But her foundation was poor. Very poor. Other students wouldn't have had the time or patience to help someone like her. Even Kyle back then mostly discussed questions with me. He rarely helped her. Now that I've pulled out of the study group, Celine has been trying her best to hide her emotions, but I could see the excitement in her eyes when she found out she'd be seated next to me. She must have thought this was a victory. But it wouldn't last long. She'd soon realize Kyle didn't have the patience to tutor her. And I, the girl who used to love helping others, suddenly had no interest in playing teacher. She must have been worried. After all, it was her family's money that got her transferred into this school. All it took was one expensive imported watch to win over Mr. Whitman. What they wanted was to use the City Honors Student Award as leverage, to guilt me into being her free personal tutor. What a well-thought-out plan. After class, I went straight to the teacher's office. "Mr. Whitman," I said, "I'd like to request a change in seating. I don't want to sit next to Celine." His face darkened instantly. "What is this, Mira?" he snapped. "Didn't you just say you enjoy helping your classmates? Why are you backing out now? You won't cooperate with the study program. You want to change your seat. Look around. Is anyone else in this class making such a fuss?" "Mr. Whitman," I replied calmly, "do you love everyone in the world?" He blinked, confused. "People naturally have those they like, and those they don't. I'm perfectly willing to help my desk mate, but not if that person is Celine. I don't like her, so I don't want to help her." "You can't pick and choose," he barked. "The seating arrangement was decided based on grades and the City Honors student selection criteria. If you change it, is that fair to others? Why are you only thinking about yourself?" I gave a small, cold smile. "City Honors student, City Honors student." I repeated, then said, "All right, I'd like to withdraw from the nomination process." "What?" I said, "I'm officially withdrawing. You don't need to find me a new partner. I'll sit alone." He was furious, visibly shaking. "I'm doing this for your own good," he shouted. "If you don't fix your lack of empathy now, when you enter the real world, you'll suffer. I'm teaching you how to be a decent human being." "Thank you for your kindness, Mr. Whitman," I said coolly. "But I already know how to be one. And the first rule of being a decent human being is not forcing yourself to suffer just to make someone else comfortable." "You're just making excuses for your selfishness," he snapped again. "As the class president, aren't you supposed to lead by example, show team spirit? If Celine's grades improve, our class might be recognized for academic excellence this term." "This is an honor for the whole class," Mr. Whitman said from the front of the room. "If everyone pulls together, we might be recognized for academic excellence this term. And Mira, do you really think your behavior is worthy of being nominated by your classmates?" I smiled. "Mr. Whitman, I'm a paying student. I came here to learn, not to provide unpaid tutoring just so our class can look good on a report. Whether weaker students improve, or whether this class earns recognition as excellent, that's not my responsibility, that's yours. And whether I'm fit to be the class president, that's for the school's student affairs office to decide. But if you're asking me to take on additional classroom duties, then I suggest you contact my parents to negotiate compensation. I'm happy to take on extra work, if the pay is fair." "You're so young," Mr. Whitman snapped, pointing a trembling finger at me, "and all you think about is what benefits you. Don't get cocky just because you have good grades. Let me tell you, by senior year, most girls see their academic performance plummet. It's just how it is." "I'm afraid you're wrong about that," said a voice from the doorway. I turned. A boy stood there, casually leaning against the doorframe, spinning a basketball in his hand. His tone was lazy, but his words cut sharp. In the past 5 years, 3 out of the 5 top scorers at our school were girls. Making blanket statements like that, Mr. Whitman, without evidence. Not a great look for a teacher, is it? Vale. A top-tier student in the humanities, the kind everyone whispered about but never dared to approach. He lived in essays and philosophy, while I came from the world of equations and lab reports. Vale, Mr. Whitman growled, this has nothing to do with you. This is a STEM-focused matter. Stay out of it. Adrian stepped into the room with unhurried ease, still lazily spinning the basketball in his hand. You're always preaching about moral character, he said. Well, I just heard something so inspiring, I couldn't help but intervene. Looked like someone was being unfairly cornered. Thought I'd speak up. Isn't that what morally upright students do? Mr. Whitman's face turned a deep, angry red. Vale had a reputation. Brilliant, sharp-tongued, and utterly uninterested in school politics. Even his own teachers couldn't manage him. Mr. Whitman, he didn't stand a chance. With a final jab of his finger in my direction, Mr. Whitman snapped, Every day I bend over backwards for this class, and all I get is disrespect. You're driving me insane. Don't worry, Mr. Whitman, I said coolly. You won't have to deal with me much longer. I've decided to shift my academic focus. Starting next semester, I'm moving into the humanities program. The room froze. Mr. Whitman blinked. Adrian raised an eyebrow. You're being ridiculous, Mr. Whitman scoffed. No one switches academic tracks this late in the game. I'm not joking, I replied calmly. I'll have my parents sign off by next week. You really think you're some kind of genius? He sneered. Jumping between fields like it's a hobby? I didn't answer. I turned and walked out of the office, calm and steady. Behind me, I heard his voice, full of sarcasm and disbelief. If she really switches out of STEM, I'll eat my hat. Back in the classroom, I dragged my desk to the back row. Celine stared as I moved. Her eyes were red and watery, like I'd just bullied her in front of everyone. Most of the class remained silent, watching the drama unfold. Only Cale came over. What are you doing? He asked, frowning. Didn't everyone see you move seats? Did the teacher even approve this? I ignored the question. Kyle took a deep breath. Come out with me for a second. We stepped into the hallway. You don't have to take it out on Celine, just because you're mad at me, he said. This is a bit much. I smiled. Take it out on her. Number, this isn't about you too. You think I'm making things hard for Celine because you've been spending time with her lately. Mira, you're the one who said you just wanted to be ordinary friends, he snapped. And that's exactly what we are, I replied. Just friends. I just want to study quietly, alone. I don't have feelings for you, Kyle. I looked him in the eye. I was just avoiding Celine because she's noisy and exhausting. That's all. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm. What's wrong with you lately? He asked, frowning. Why are you being so selfish? Let go. My voice dropped, sharp. Fine, he said quickly, hands raised in defeat. You win. Just stop picking fights, all right? What are you talking about? Cale bit his lip. I admit it. I only got close to Celine, studied with her to get under your skin. But you didn't have to take it this far. Then he added softer, honestly, you could learn a thing or two from Celine. She's sweet. She thinks about others. Only someone like her could put up with your temper. I looked at him, of course. It didn't matter if we were 17 or 27, in this life or the last. Kyle was still Kyle, the kind of man who basked in gentle compliance and flinched from pushback. He always relished Selene's soft voice and quiet sacrifices, but with me, he always had something to compare, always something to fix. I was like a spinning top to him. As long as I turned fast and flawless, he was content. But the moment I slowed down or stumbled, he'd point to Selene and say, "Look at her. She's graceful, thoughtful. Why can't you be more like that?" And still, he expected me to be grateful, because I had his love. But I never wanted a love like that. "Kyle," I said gently. I used to think I owed it to you, because I was the one who first pulled Selene into our lives. I felt responsible, but I've changed. He didn't understand, so I shook my head and said, "One last piece of advice. This is your final year. Use your energy on yourself. Focus on your exams. Take more mock tests. Ease your anxiety. You can still get into a great university if you stop wasting your time." I walked back into class. That's all I could do for him. The rest was up to him. When I got home, Kyle's mother was sitting on the couch, and my mum was just getting off the phone. "Yes, I understand. I'm sorry, Mr. Whitman, truly. She must have acted on impulse. Please don't report this to the school administration just yet." She hung up and turned to me, her expression complicated. "Your teacher says you want to transfer to the humanities program." I nodded. "What? Humanities?" Kyle's mum cut in. "Absolutely not. It's your senior year. Mr. Whitman said you argued with him today, that you want to sit alone. Is something going on with you?" "I'm fine," I said. "I want to pursue a humanities focus in high school and apply for journalism in college." "A journalism degree? Mira, be realistic. It's unstable, low-paying, and not exactly safe work. Girls should choose something steady, like accounting, a secure job, close to home. That's what matters." She turned to my mom. "I was just telling her, the local universities offer excellent accounting programs, and they're close to home. It's safer that way. If Mira and Kyle both attend nearby schools, they can come home every weekend. Isn't that what every parent wants?" In my past life, she said the exact same things, over and over again. She didn't want to travel far, her legs weren't good, and she saw me as her future daughter-in-law, the one she could keep within reach. She sold the idea of a local university like it was the golden path. And back then, maybe it wasn't just my love-blinded heart that agreed with her. Maybe it was the years of repetition, the quiet hypnotism of her words. That convinced me to give up everything, my dreams, my voice, and study accounting. At a school I never even liked. "You're our only daughter," Kale's mother said. "Staying close to your parents is important. You and Kale grew up together. There isn't a man in this world who could care for you better than him. Once you both graduate, it would be best to get married right away. Girls don't need to obsess over careers. Stability, that's what matters most. Marriage, a family. The sooner you have children, the better it is for your health and recovery." Those words, they echoed through my memories like a mantra from my past life. In the end, I gave up everything. I took a steady, unremarkable job. I married Kale. And because I couldn't get pregnant for years, I started blaming myself. But her attitude, Kyle's mother, grew colder by the day. One evening, I came home early and heard her talking to Kale outside the door. "She's not your only option, you know. You're a man. You can't just chain yourself to one woman for life. We should have had her fertility tested before marriage. Who could have guessed she was the problem?" Kyle's voice was soft. "What if it's not Mira's fault?" "How could it be yours?" she snapped. "You've spoiled her since childhood. Whatever she wanted, you gave. Now look where that's gotten us. Selene. Now she's the better choice. That girl's thoughtful, generous, knows how to treat elders. You two are always fighting. Maybe it's time to try something else. If she can get pregnant." My hands clenched at the memory. And now, in my living room, she was still talking. Talking to my mother like nothing had changed. "Most people aren't meant to chase big dreams," she said sweetly. "We live ordinary lives. Find someone decent. Settle down early. That's what matters. I mean, don't they say it's better to marry well than to study well?" I cut her off. "Yes, most people live ordinary lives, but even ordinary people have dreams. Dreaming isn't greed, and the value of a woman isn't, and never will be, in how early she marries or how quickly she has children. If you actually read," I said coldly, "you'd know women have played a crucial role in shaping history. Their worth isn't measured by wombs and wedding rings." She laughed bitterly. Please, you kids are just parroting whatever nonsense you read online. You think you're so progressive. She turned to my mother. I've been telling you, you need to watch her more closely. Once a girl gets influenced, it's hard to pull her back. I folded my arms. The question is, am I being influenced by the internet, or have you been influencing my family for far too long? Her face darkened. What did you just say? I stared her down. You come into my house. You tell my mother I shouldn't study far from home, that I should settle, that I shouldn't pursue a career. Do you really think you have the right to dictate my life? You ungrateful child, she hissed. I've watched you grow up. Of course I care. Well then, I said, voice cutting, maybe it's time you focused on your own life. If I were just some random girl off the street, would you care this much? Didn't think so. If you're really that busy, stop showing up at our house uninvited. Her mouth opened in shock, no words coming out. I think it's time for you to go, I added. Kyle's mother stood slowly, deliberately, clearly waiting for my mother to ask her to stay. But I moved first. I took my mother's hand. Thank you for coming, I said. But I'm about to enter my final year of high school. All I want is peace. Her face went pale. As she reached the door, she turned back and said bitterly to my mum, You really should start keeping your daughter in check. After she left, my mother sighed. You've never snapped like that before. Truth was, my parents were good people. They always had been. But good people often have soft ears, and soft ears are easy to manipulate. I pulled my mom into my room and pointed to the shelves packed with news articles, magazines, and books on media. Mom, you know I've loved journalism for as long as I can remember. The college entrance exam might not be the only path to change my life, but it's a big one. It matters. Until now, I've always followed the crowd. Everyone picked STEM, so I picked STEM. People said it offered more options, more security, but that was never me. I want to focus on humanities, not because it's easier, but because I love it, because it's what I care about. I paused, then added, I've thought this through, Mum. Even though I've been on the STEM track for 2 years, I've kept up with the core subjects from humanities. I'm confident I can catch up during the summer. I'm willing to work for this. My goal is to apply to one of the best universities in the country, with journalism as my major. My mum stayed quiet for a moment, then gently placed a hand on my shoulder. All right, she said. We'll talk to your father tonight. I hugged her tightly. Thank you. That night, we had a long talk as a family. The next day, my mother took me to school to sign the paperwork to change my academic focus. Mr. Whitman took one look at the signature and scoffed. Students these days don't even know what's good for them, he muttered. And now the parents are encouraging it? Ridiculous. My mother smiled calmly. As her parents, we believe in supporting our daughters' choices, not crushing them just because they scare us. As we left the office, I felt like I could breathe again. Maybe I wouldn't succeed, but I had something I never had before, the chance to choose what mattered to me. At the entrance of my new classroom, Vale leaned against the doorframe. You actually showed up, he said, raising an eyebrow. Welcome. Cale, on the other hand, was furious when he found out. You didn't even talk to me about this, he said. I looked at him, calm. This was a personal decision, and aside from my parents, I don't owe anyone a discussion. Fine, he snapped. Then we have nothing to do with each other from now on. A week later, after the first benchmark exam of senior year, it was a tough exam, harder than usual, probably to rattle the new seniors. When results were posted, I ranked 11th in the humanities class. Everyone was shocked. When my new homeroom teacher, Mr. Tan, called me to the office, I overheard Mr. Whitman speaking inside. She just switched over, scoring that high in a week. Come on, with how prideful she is, I wouldn't be surprised if she bent the rules to save face. I knocked on the door. The room went silent. Mr. Tan greeted me with a smile. Mira, your scores were excellent. I just wanted to ask, How did you manage to improve so quickly in the humanities subjects? Mr. Whitman snorted from the corner. I paused. Mr. Tan, are you asking out of curiosity, or because someone suspects I cheated? Mr. Tan hesitated. Well, you did just switch from STEM, and now you're top 15. Honestly, the staff is curious. I smiled. Do you know how I spent my summer? I asked. Every day from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., I locked myself in my room. No games, no socializing, just study. I bought prep books, old exams, lecture recordings. I worked through everything, point by point, test by test. I get it. You're curious, but accusing me of cheating, that's baseless. Mr. Whitman sneered. Baseless? Something that abnormal must be hiding something. You want proof? I turned to him. There were proctors, surveillance cameras. Ask them. Why are you questioning me based on nothing but your own assumptions? She's insubordinate, Mr. Whitman snapped. She thinks being class president means she can do whatever she wants. She never listens. She always thinks she's right. You need to call her parents in immediately. But Mr. Tan didn't even flinch. Mira, he said, smiling at me, I believe in you. Keep up the good work. Mr. Whitman's eyes widened. You can't be serious. You're too young to see through this kind of student. You're just protecting her because of her test scores, trying to boost your class record for a promotion. But what about integrity? Just then, Vale, who had been helping Mr. Tan sort documents, looked up. Integrity, huh? He said casually. Funny thing about that. Mr. Whitman narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? Vale tilted his head, eyes innocent. Didn't you say that if Mira ever joined the humanities class, you'd eat your hat? Laughter erupted across the room. A few teachers even had to turn away. Mr. Tan chuckled. Maybe it's best if you let us handle our own class, Mr. Whitman. A minute later, Vale and I left the office together. You've changed, he said, hands in his pockets. In a good way. I raised an eyebrow. Honestly, he added, this school used to be boring. No real challenge. But now, I'm looking forward to seeing how far you'll go. I didn't reply, but I couldn't deny the feeling in my chest. Something like momentum, like finally stepping onto the path that belonged to me. Days passed. Rumors, as always, found their way to me. Apparently, Celine had started chasing after Kale aggressively. Maybe my absence made her act sooner than in the last life. But this life wasn't the same. Back then, I helped Celine climb academically, made her seem like the safe harbor Kale could run to. But now, she had nothing. Kyle was buried in senior year pressure, and Celine's flirting only made him feel embarrassed. He didn't have the time or patience to help her catch up. And when kindness vanished, so did her warmth. Celine became a running joke. Still, I didn't expect her to retaliate. Not against him, but against me. Over the last 2 weeks, the girls sitting to my left had become increasingly noisy, whispering and laughing whenever I tried to study. I recognized them. They were the same girls who used to bully Celine. Now, I had a feeling their loyalty had been bought. One day after school, I saw Celine sneak out of campus with them. They were all wearing matching, delicate wristwatches. A few days later, during a class absence, they cornered me in the bathroom. They locked the door, poured an entire bucket of cold water over me. My clothes clung to my skin, dripping. One of them smirked. I'm not done with you, not yet. Timing's everything. I stood in silence. When they left, I borrowed a towel and asked the school nurse to help dry my clothes. Then I returned to the restroom, picked up that same bucket, filled it. Back in the classroom, they were still laughing. I walked straight up to them and emptied the bucket over their heads. They screamed. Hope you remember this moment, I said with a smile. I always repay people, even if it's just a few drops of water. You crazy bitch, one of them shouted. We're telling the teacher. Oh, please, I said, smirking. Still playing these childish games. You've got the guts to bully, but not to take the consequences. One girl stood up, fuming. I just don't like you, okay? You're not class president anymore, so stop talking like you're better than us. You're nothing but a cheater. Everyone knows you faked your score. I paused. Let them talk. Let them scream. But I knew the truth. And soon, so would they. Too loud, a lazy voice said from the back of the classroom. Everyone froze. Vale sat up, stretching, and walked over. Who doesn't want her sitting here? He asked casually. One of the girls wiped water off her face. We don't. She attacked us. And she cheated. You know that, right? We don't want to sit next to someone with zero integrity. A few students leaned in, eyes sparkling, ready for drama. Vale nodded, then turned to me. To be honest, he said, this environment isn't exactly conducive to learning. You know how birds of a feather flock together. Maybe it's time you stop proving you're better than the mud and just step away from it entirely. Then, with a half smile, want to sit next to me? I blinked, stunned. And so were the girls. Everyone knew Vale, brilliant, untouchable, and viciously sharp-tongued. Plenty of girls had tried to sit next to him before, hoping to use study help as an excuse to get close. Most of them left crying after a few of his comments. His desk had been empty ever since. And now? He was asking me. Only an idiot would say no. I'll move, I said simply. He helped me gather my things, and in front of the whole class, we switched seats. I didn't miss the daggers in Selene's eyes, or the smirks on her new friends' faces. I was already considering asking my dad to pick me up after evening study sessions, just to avoid trouble, when Adrian said casually, while helping Mr. Tan sort some documents, "You live on Phoenix Street, right? Number 15? I nodded. Just across from you. Evening study will run till 9 starting next week. Want to walk home together? Sure, I said. That'd be great. He nodded once. Oh, and you placed 11th on the last exam, right? Yeah. That's not enough to get into a top journalism program. He tossed me a set of test prep booklets. I don't use these anymore. Take a look if you want. The bell rang. He grabbed his basketball. I heard you don't usually get involved in other people's business, I said. I don't, he replied, not even turning back. But you're not other people, he added, smiling faintly. Let's help each other out, desk partner. And honestly, his notes were better than any prep book I'd ever seen. A month later, during our first official exam of senior year, I ranked 8th in class. The cheating rumor, dead on arrival. My relationship with Vale grew steadily stronger. We didn't talk much, but when we did, there was clarity, not noise. The city-level student awards were announced soon after. Though the STEM department never nominated me for anything, the Student Affairs Office did. I received the Student Leadership Excellence Award. Just as predicted. Mr. Whitman, upon hearing the news, reportedly shattered his Outstanding Educator mug in the staff room. After the fall break, the school held its annual Autumn Sports Festival. While walking past the admin building to grab water, I spotted something strange. Mr. Whitman, Celine, and a man I didn't recognize, talking quietly behind the teaching block. I frowned, then slipped into an empty classroom nearby, crouched beneath a window, hit record. Her current grades just won't cut it, Mr. Whitman said. Not for any decent college here. The man replied, as I said before, if you could bump up her daily performance scores, her overseas application would look a lot better. I understand, the man said. Of course, she can't cheat on the college entrance exam, but for her regular classwork, there's still room to help. Thank you, Mr. Whitman. I've tried hiring private tutors for her, but nothing seems to work. If you could arrange for a few top students to mentor her, that would be best. Mr. Whitman hesitated, then spoke with a low dismissive tone. That girl Mira, she was such a problem. But don't worry, I already had her moved to a different class. I'll find someone else. She always made my daughter unhappy. And don't worry, he added, it won't be hard to find a reason to discipline her. Leave that to me. There was a rustle. Please, take this watch, a small token of appreciation." "Oh no, I couldn't possibly." "Come now, it's just a little gesture." Their footsteps faded away. My palms were slick with sweat. I stood and moved toward the classroom door when a voice behind me said flatly, "You're really bad at being sneaky." I jumped. Every hair on my body stood on end. Vale was standing by the window. "Are you trying to be a covert journalist," he said, smirking, "or a street performer? You didn't even close the classroom door." Crouching in plain view, practically announcing, "Hey everyone, look at me." I whispered, "Did anyone see?" He folded his arms. "Of course not. I've been standing guard the whole time." The next morning, right before the school-wide PE session, a strange audio clip suddenly played over the loudspeakers. The entire school froze. The recording featured a conversation between Mr. Whitman, the homeroom teacher of the STEM track, and none other than Celine's father. The voice of the broadcasting student? Vale. "Total accident," he said, arms wide. "I found this mysterious recording device and hit play. How was I supposed to know the mic was still on?" Mr. Whitman was immediately suspended, all his previous awards revoked. The audio clip exploded online within an hour. Students had recorded it and uploaded it everywhere. Netizens turned into digital detectives. Former students of Mr. Whitman came forward, exposing how he favored rich kids and humiliated those from modest backgrounds. Then they dug deeper into Selene's family. Turns out her family's company had been caught selling counterfeit luxury watches, the same kind she gifted to teachers and classmates. Even worse, they were now under investigation for possible money laundering. The school launched a formal inquiry. Selene was accused of orchestrating bullying incidents. The girls who used to harass me broke down and confessed. She gave us those watches, told us to make her life miserable. Selene, once the golden girl, was now a pariah. Not long after, she dropped out of school altogether, and that elegant, imported watch Mr. Whitman wore so proudly every day. A fake. That afternoon, I ran into Cale outside our apartment complex. He looked awkward, holding something behind his back. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't know Selene was that manipulative. I actually got sick of her too eventually." He looked at me, sheepish. "Can we make up?" In his hand was a bottle of strawberry milk, the same kind I used to love. But the moment I saw it, a memory from my past life hit me like a punch to the gut. I had come home early from a business trip. There it was, that same bottle of strawberry milk, not in the fridge, but on the table. A faint lipstick mark clung to its rim. The bedroom reeked of perfume. The sheets wrinkled. They didn't even bother cleaning up. I never drank strawberry milk again after that day. Now, looking at that bottle, a wave of nausea surged through me. I turned away and vomited. Kyle rushed forward, alarmed, reaching to rub my back, but I stopped him with a hand. "I'm fine," I said, steadying my breath. "I just don't like this milk anymore." "I can get a different one," he said quickly. "Any flavor you want." I shook my head. "It's not about the flavor. There's no going back, Kyle." I gave him a faint smile. "We don't need to see each other anymore. I wish you the best on your college exams." He stiffened. "Is this because of Vale?" I blinked. "You like him, don't you?" he snapped. "That's why you chased him to the humanities class. Now you walk to school together, sit together. It's obvious." "Kyle," I said calmly, "Vale and I are just classmates. I've told you already. I just want to focus on my studies." He scoffed. "So, a childhood friend doesn't matter anymore, huh? Not when a golden boy shows up." He tossed the strawberry milk aside. "I never thought you were that kind of person. There are tons of girls who like Vale," he added bitterly. "He's not a safe choice. If you don't choose me, one day you'll regret it." From that point on, Kyle treated me like a stranger. But he threw himself into his studies with new intensity. His monthly scores kept rising. Every time his mother showed up in the neighborhood, she made sure everyone heard. With these grades, my son can get into any top-tier university he wants. As for me, by the end of the first semester, I'd secured the number 2 spot in the entire grade. Mock exam after mock exam passed. And then, finally, the real one. The college entrance exam. I felt good about it. Really good. After reviewing some answers with Vale, we were both confident. We were aiming for the best. And when scores were released, Vale ranked first in the entire city. I came in 8th. Both of us made it. I got into journalism. Vale chose history. Same university, the best one in the country. Then came the graduation parties. Coincidentally, Kyle's celebration was scheduled at the same restaurant. Same day, same floor, just across the hall from ours. Kyle and his mother stood at the doorway, facing us. She was glowing with pride. Kyle, not so much. His face was pale, unshaven, empty. "Oh, please," his mother said loudly. "Picking the right major is even more important than the school." "Kyle didn't choose his," she said, with a smug smile. "I picked it for him. Finance, of course. That way he can make real money." She cast a deliberate glance toward us. "Sure, it's a top university, but those majors, journalism and history, let's be honest, they're not exactly practical, are they?" My mother clenched her fists, ready to charge. But I caught her arm. "Let it go, Mum," I said softly. "She's not worth it." "I'll tell you what," Cale's mother continued, voice rising. "With Cale's grades, girls will be lining up to marry him. I'm already thinking about who might make a good daughter-in-law." She elbowed him playfully. "Didn't I tell you to bring your acceptance letter? Show it off a bit." Kyle didn't move. He just stood there, staring, not at her, but at me. And in his eyes, there was something that looked a lot like regret. Kyle's mother lunged for his bag, but didn't hold on. Everything inside spilled across the pavement. An older woman bent down to help. "Oh, is this a university acceptance letter?" She picked up a folded report, eyes scanning. Others gathered. One gasped, hand over mouth. This says he can't have children." "Oh no, poor boy. That's going to make dating hard." "You're all talking nonsense." Kyle's mother snatched the paper from their hands, frantic. This must be a mistake." She turned, face pale. "Kyle, when did you take this test?" Kyle looked straight ahead, voice calm. "It's not a mistake. I'm infertile." His mother's face turned crimson. "Stop saying that. What kind of joke?" She smacked his back. "Get inside, right now." But Kyle just gave a bitter smile and walked off, without looking back. Something clicked in me. I ran after him. He turned around slowly. His eyes were red. His voice cracked. "You remember too, don't you?" I nodded softly. Tears spilled from his eyes as he hugged me. "I had this dream," he whispered. "A long, long dream. In it, I betrayed you. I thought I had a child with her, but it wasn't mine. You fell, down the stairs. I didn't catch you. Later, I found out the truth. We fought. She stabbed me. I said nothing. I didn't need to, because it was all true." He sobbed harder. "I'm sorry, Mira, but it was just a dream, right? It's over. We can start again. Let's fix this. Please." I gently pushed him away. "Kyle," I said, "we both know it wasn't just a dream. The blood was real. The pain was real. And so was the betrayal. If you were still the Kyle who remembered nothing, maybe we could pretend to be normal classmates. But now that you remember too, even that's no longer possible. I don't want to carry the bitterness of the past into this life. Strangers, that's as close as we're allowed to be. I hope you become a better man in this lifetime. You can call me cold, but I don't feel sorry for him. If he had been able to have children, if that baby had been his, then in our last life, he and Selene would have lived happily, without regret. So don't try to bargain for love with pain. Don't offer your own suffering as proof of change, because this new life I have, it's full of possibility, and no amount of guilt can compete with that. That night, Kyle's mother cried so loudly the whole neighborhood could hear. At exactly 9 p.m., a pebble hit my window. I opened it and looked down. Vale stood beneath the streetlight, holding a bouquet. He looked like something from a storybook. I smiled, changed clothes, and went downstairs. You know, you could have just texted, I teased. It's not the 1800s. He shrugged. Just wanted to see if you'd still come to the window. We both laughed. My family's going on a short trip tomorrow, he said, smiling softly. Next time we meet, it'll be on campus. I nodded. Yeah. He held out the bouquet, a little shy. These are Peruvian lilies. I passed by the shop and thought, the meaning suits you. He brought me flowers. I blinked. Had I congratulated him yet? Congrats, I said. Same university. He gave a soft smile. You too. You should get going, I said with a smile. See you at campus. Yeah, he said. See you there. As I watched Vale walk away under the streetlights, his words echoed in my mind. He'd said the flowers suited me, but he never told me what they meant. I opened my phone, typed in a search. Peruvian lily, meaning friendship. Hope to see you again. New beginnings. In September, I arrived at the School of Journalism at one of the top universities in the country. Our professor, an elderly man with a sharp gaze, opened our first class with a warning. If you're just here to make money, it's still not too late to switch majors. He smiled. As journalists, you must never forget your responsibility to society. We learned reporting, editing, scripting, even video production. It was exhausting, and I loved every minute. Vale stayed busy too. He was still one of the most well-known students on campus. Sharp, brilliant, a natural standout. Some girls in my class found out we were high school classmates. They asked me to introduce them. I teased Vale about it. There's this girl. She's actually really sweet. Why not give it a shot? He didn't even look up. I'm not looking. Why? I asked. Lots of girls have been asking about you. Don't you want a girlfriend? I don't have time, he said. Same, I replied. Exactly, he said, closing his book. Neither do I. And just like that, Vale never dated anyone all through college. By senior year, some girls started whispering that he might not even like girls. They asked me, half joking, do you think he swings the other way? I thought about it for a second. Probably not. Oh, one of them said, eyes wide. So, it's you then. Honestly? Maybe. After graduation, I got accepted to a top journalism grad program overseas. Vale stayed behind to pursue a PhD. The day I left for my new life abroad, he came to say goodbye. As I stood at the gate, suitcase in hand, a wave of emotion hit me. Maybe being busy wasn't the whole reason I avoided relationships. Maybe it was just fear. I'd been hurt too deeply in my last life. I never dared take that first step again. But maybe, with the right person, it was worth it. I clenched my fists and looked up. Vale, I said, do you like me? He froze, then burst out laughing. Mira, he said, do you know why TV dramas have 100 episodes? Because nobody ever says what they mean. But you. One sentence, and the plot's over. Don't joke, I muttered, flustered. Do you or don't you? You mad now? He teased. Then his voice softened. I was just a little disappointed, that's all. I actually booked the next flight, was planning to follow you and surprise you. He smiled and pulled something from his bag. A delicate bookmark with a pressed Peruvian lily inside. And then, just as the airport announcer called final boarding, he looked into my eyes and said, I love you. We've been loving each other, across oceans, across time, ever since. 3 years and counting. 3 years later, I returned home and became a field reporter, covering social issues. 2 years after that, Vale completed his PhD and stayed on at the university as a lecturer. Within 2 years, he was promoted to associate professor. I stayed true to my original goal, to seek the truth, one story at a time. As a journalist, I gave everything to the work I loved, and over time I earned a few awards in the industry. Vale, on the other hand, became an unexpected internet sensation. His witty historical commentary on a guest show earned him the nickname the History God. And on campus, he was known as the university's rising star speaker. I still remember what he once said to me back in high school, that he hoped we'd meet again, at the top. And somehow, all these years later, we did. In our own ways, we both stood at our own peaks and kept reaching for more. A year later, we got married. When exam season came around again, our old high school invited us back to give a talk. While waiting for Vale outside a nearby store, I ran into Cale. He was holding a child in his arms. "I see you on the news sometimes," he said, smiling. "Looks like you've done really well." I nodded. "And you?" "I've been teaching in the mountains. This is my adopted son." We exchanged only a few words. Then he left, child in tow. Vale returned just then, squinting in Cale's direction. "What was he doing here? Looking for you?" I laughed. "Pure coincidence. Don't tell me you're jealous of someone from a whole different lifetime." He grumbled. I tugged at his sleeve. "Hey," I said, "do you remember that bouquet you once gave me? The Peruvian lilies. Did you really buy them from that little flower shop?" He looked at me, a bit amused. "Do you really think a tiny store like that would stock those flowers?" "I had them custom ordered," he added, almost shyly. "Took me weeks to find the right place." I blinked. "So, you liked me back then?" He turned red, grabbed my hand tighter, and mumbled, "We're going to be late. Let's go." Even after marriage, he still blushes like that. So unlike the cold, untouchable Professor Vale that everyone sees at school. Back at our high school, walking through those familiar halls, I realized I'd once been a legend there too. After our talk, the school asked us to leave a message for this year's graduating class. I thought for a while, then wrote, "Chase what sets your soul on fire. Trust in yourself, and I hope to see you at the peak."